Olá galera, a gente tá aqui hoje com a Kim Adshade e ela é a coordenadora do Co-op da Seneca College, aqui de Toronto, do Canadá. Por sugestão de vocês, a gente veio aqui trocar uma ideia com ela, fazer umas perguntas sobre como funciona o programa de Co-op, pra muita gente estar interessada. So, thanks for coming, Kim.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So my first question is, what is Co-op?
So Co-op is an opportunity where students are able to practice what they're learning in class in a real work setting. Paid opportunity. The Co-op here at Seneca College is comprised of a few different components, if you will. So it's comprised of an in-class component, the work term, as well as the debrief class and the wrap-up of the whole work term.
Do all courses offer a co-op term in the end of the semester, or is it like specific for each?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And actually, no, not every single program here at Seneca offers co-op. So some of the programs that we offer here are mandatory and some are optional. So it all depends on the program, but we have over 60 co-op programs here at Seneca. Over 1,600 students actually take part in co-op every year. It's quite extensive. There's about 25 staff here that are co-op coordinators here at Seneca College. And I personally right now oversee 12 various programs within marketing and tourism.
So the first thing that students should do if they want to be part of co-op, they have to look at the website and the program list to check if its co-op is available in their courses, right?
Exactly.
How do you qualify to be part of a co-op semester?
So it really does depend on whether it's a mandatory or an optional co-op. So I'll sort of speak to the optional co-op because that's what I oversee is all the optional co-op programs. And individuals, generally speaking, are applying to co-op in their first semester, but we do have one of my marketing programs that applies in their third semester. But generally speaking, you apply to get into co-op. The eligibility for the programs I oversee is based on a GPA, so your grades matter, and faculty recommendation, as well as having a successful communication assessment. Some programs will do an interview and they'll do various different things to determine whether someone's eligible for their co-op programs, but that's how I run the programs that I oversee. When a student applies, we actually don't know whether they're accepted into co-op until the end of the semester, until all the grades have been submitted and we've met with the faculty to determine whether that person would be a good fit for co-op or not.
If you would say, like, what is the hardest part for students? Do you think it's like the teacher's recommendation, the grades, like the assessment?
Oh, in terms of getting in?
Yeah.
If really, I guess the only thing that would deter someone, or not deter rather, but that would prevent someone from getting accepted would probably be their grades.
Okay.
You know, because you've taken a program here at Seneca, that it's a challenge, right?
Yeah.
It was a lot of work. You know, now having gone through it, that adding that co-op class with me was yet more work on top of your already busy semester, right?
But to be honest, I can tell you all, like, it's worth it. In the middle, you want to throw everything away, like you want to give up, it's hard, you struggle, but in the end.
Yeah.
And you said about the assessment, the English test, right?
Yes.
Do you think that international students struggle on that, or it's like it's not as? I know that it's not as hard as TOEFL was like an IBT test.
Right. In my opinion, it's really not a challenging assessment compared to something else that you probably would have had to take already to get accepted into college. But it's really just a listening assessment. So you listen to conversations, and it's done in a group atmosphere. So it's not one-on-one, and everyone's listening to the same information, and it's 50 multiple choice questions. It's really straightforward if you're listening and you're paying attention and you're following line by line and filling in the right answer. Most people do well.
So tell me, what are the advantages of taking a co-op course?
That's a great question as well. There's many advantages to taking a co-op class and being part of co-op because you get so many different components to co-op. You also get the support, guidance, and mentorship from the co-op coordinator for 2 full semesters, and in some cases, some co-op coordinators are working with students much longer because they're doing multiple work terms. So you get that ongoing support, which is great. In terms of the in-class component, you certainly are getting all of the help with your resume, you're getting all of the help with your cover letter, you're getting all of the help for mock interviews, and getting prepared for interviews, as you remember. You're also learning about the expectations on the job, as well as Canadian expectations. So we do have a great number of international students that attend here at Seneca College, and that's wonderful because they bring so much diversity and differences with them. Having said that, sometimes they don't have Canadian work experience, so certainly getting that insight beforehand is really beneficial because that's not something you learn necessarily right away. And I know for a fact that it helped you personally, even in terms of how to prepare in terms of attire for the interview, right? So that was really just a small thing, but it was really helpful. So I know that is key. I think the other piece too is job search techniques, networking. Sometimes there's guest speakers, so there's a lot of differences that can happen within within the co-op class, certainly to get you ready, get you prepared, and get you successful on the job. I think the benefits for the work term are extensive. I think you're getting the on-hand experience. You're applying what you're learning in class in a real setting. You're getting paid.
Yeah.
You're able to network. You're making good connections. You're getting a good reference. You're building your resume. You're building skills. And in a lot of cases, you're building accomplishments that you never had in that field. So that is priceless. And as far as the debrief class and those outcomes, again, I think the benefit to the student is that you're building your portfolio. So oftentimes students come in not ever having created a portfolio or knowing what to do with a portfolio. And usually by the end of it, they get it.
Yeah.
They understand the benefit of a portfolio and how it can become very beneficial in terms of an interview, building your career, in terms of adding skills and accomplishments and such to what you bring to the table. I guess the other thing to add to that as well would be that sometimes it can lead to a full-time job. Oftentimes the employers are so happy with the students that they don't want to let them go and they want them to stay beyond their co-op time frame, and that happens all the time.
And do you think there is any disadvantage related to it?
Certainly, as a student, you need to be able to balance your time well, because depending on the program, it can be an extensive or a heavy course load to begin with, and then to add co-op class on top of that can be hard. Even though co-op classes are only 7 weeks, there's a lot of expectation to be doing a lot of job searching. So we posted a lot of jobs on Seneca Works for you guys to apply to, but ultimately if you're not doing the work, then you're not going to get the interviews. And it takes a lot of work to change your resume, to change your cover letter, so you have to be willing to do that. I think the other challenge is that it's competitive, so everyone coming into co-op has to have the same standards. That one job could be shared amongst other programs at Seneca, it could be shared amongst other colleges or other universities, or just out to the mass public. So there's a lot of competition, and I certainly recognize that, and I know that it's challenging. It's hard to find a job, so I take it upon myself to really do whatever I can to help the students, because I know how hard it is. And I think the only other disadvantage is there's a cost. With everything, like any course here at Seneca, there's a cost for the class, so it's a one-time fee, but still it's something that you have to be prepared for. The good news is there's no difference between international students and domestic students.
Everybody pays the same.
That's the nice thing.
And just worth mentioning, like she said, this is not only Seneca related, so you can find co-op in other schools, but you also compete with people from the market, right?
If you are doing your research and you're looking at schools, is you want to find out how they run their co-op. Here at Seneca, the co-op coordinator that helps you in class is the same co-op coordinator that comes to see you on the job, is the same co-op coordinator that follows up with you post-class. So you're getting that same person for the whole duration of your time, and that's not always the case with other schools. They have different people handling different components. Sometimes you have to find your own job and there is no help. So those things matter, as you can well remember. If you had to do it all on yourself, on your own, it would have been really hard. It would have been really hard, right? So those are questions you would want to know, is what kind of help is provided and how many jobs maybe are offered and what kind of jobs and all of those kinds of things.
What people can expect from co-op classes?
I think if nothing else, you can expect that you're going to get support. You're going to get guidance throughout that process of trying to find a job, being successful at the interview, and being successful once you've gotten the job. So the individual nuances of all the coordinators and the individual programs, all of that aside, at the end of the day, you're going to get support, you're going to get guidance, and you're not going to be left on your own devices. And that's our job, is to help you. And we all love what we do.
So the co-op classes are not a traditional class, right? It's not most of you speaking, it's most of like group work.
Yeah, it's a combination of me talking, but also you guys working, doing small discussions. Sometimes I have guest speakers. I do different things depending on what comes up.
What is the difference between, like, for a national or an international student, or if there is any difference to get into a co-op class? Do you think most of the international students decide to take co-op, or like balance most of also Canadian students?
That's a very good question. To be honest, I'm not sure what the numbers are in terms of domestic versus international, just in the class alone. But I would say, just in my experience so far, there's definitely a higher number of individuals that are international that take part in co-op. My guess is because they don't have the Canadian work experience and they really are wanting to get that. Certainly it helps international students specifically because it extends your time here in Canada. Regardless of whether you're domestic or international, it just adds to your experience. So if the field, for example, in your case is marketing, then you're now in the field of marketing, doing marketing related roles and duties. So it's just going to add to your likelihood and success of getting a job afterwards in the field.
How important do you think to have the Canadian experience here?
I think, to be honest, I think it's really important. I think there's still sometimes reservation from employers in terms of hiring someone that they can't validate and verify that someone did what they said they did sometimes, or that they went to a school but they don't know where the school is, or they don't know what you learned. So sometimes that can happen. It's not right, but it does sometimes happen. On the flip side, I've had employers tell me that they thoroughly love hiring international students because they know that they're motivated, they know they want to work. They have a lot more to lose. If they're not working, then they could not potentially stay here in Canada. Oftentimes they're, international students are working towards their permanent residency, so everything that they do matters, and they worked so hard to get here in Canada that they are really motivated and really take that initiative and so on. So in terms of how important it is, I think it's really important that the international students have the experience, because it helps their confidence. It helps them to feel like, I can do what I know I can do. And sometimes that's all it is. Every student I've worked with so far has tremendous skills and tremendous education experience and what have you, but oftentimes they doubt their own abilities, and they don't fully see their own potential until sometimes I can tell them their potential. We can go in and out about it in class, but until that's validated on the job and they really see that, I am doing a great job, and oh my gosh, I just saved the company thousands of dollars or whatever, they then really take notice that what they're doing really is great and really is validated and really is important. I guess the only other thing is, if you're thinking about co-op and you're thinking about coming to school here in Canada, then really research the program, research the school, research the city, really take into consideration all those facts, because I think if you're coming to a new country, you want to feel comfortable, you want to fit in, and it needs to agree with who you are.
So Kim, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your time and patience.
No, this is great. So thank you very much for asking me to do this.